let's try and do some very basic data calculations. So given the fact that we've got all these different red wine grapes from Pinot Noir, so Cabernet Franc, Carignan, so once again let's just raise them in alphabetical order, going from Agiotico to right into Zinfandel, all from different parts of the world, from Greece into Portugal into Napa Valley. So we are talking about all these different types of grapes, and we've got all these different numerical values in terms of their tannin levels and their acidity and their alcohol and their body and their fruit flavors. 1 out of 10, 10 being the highest and 1 being the lowest. Suppose we wanted to say, all right, let's try. And so what I did was I clicked the cell right under tannin, and in this case we basically might want to say, what is the average tannin level of a red grape, of it, the more common red grapes? And there are 2 ways of doing it. The first one, which is a long way, or in a sort of a long form version, is basically to do first the sum, I'd say, is equal to. So anytime you're ever doing an Excel function, you have to type in as equal to. That's where it knows it's a function you're calling. So it's equal to sum. And you'll see Excel is very clever. And we say sum, and we start off with a bracket, open a bracket, says sum of what? So what we do is we go up, click on the top number, keep our fingers pushed on the left mouse button and pull it all the way to the last number. And we say, and we close that. And if you look right out here, it says sum B2 to B22, because all it says is we're adding up all the numbers from B2 into B22, and we find that. So we say that the sum of all the tannin levels of the major red wines or red grapes around the world is 134. Now here's the interesting thing. Okay, I'm going to, the minute you click on the paw, here's the interesting bit. The minute you now touch the edge, it turns this generally white cross into a black cross. And you can click on that, click on the left mouse button, and you can basically pull it through. And voila, what you have is you have the totals for each of them, which would be just the same as if we were to say is equal to sum of all of these numbers. And it doesn't really matter if you're going up or down, it would come up to being exactly the same. See, 142. So we would say this is the sum. Now let's mark it so that we know what we're talking about. Then the next thing is, how do we do an average? We do sum divided by the number of things that we have measured. So how do we figure out the number of things that we have? We use something called the count function, and in order to do that we say is equal to count of what? So we want to know how many are there. So we know it's from 2 to 22. Of course we could do a calculation, but what happens if we've got loads and loads of numbers? So we just do a count and we count all the numbers out there and close the brackets, and it says we have 21 different types of grapes. And once again, let's embolden it, move the white cross till it becomes a black cross right at the bottom right hand corner, and then we'll put it through, and voila, we have it. It tells you that we have 21 different types of grapes. The sum of, whether it's tannins or acidity or alcohol, body, fruit flavor, are 134, 142. Now we can do the average. And the average is nothing but the sum divided by the count. So all we did was b is equal to b23. So anytime you're doing any kind of calculation or formula or function, it has to start up with an equal to sign. So b23 divided by b24, and we have it. What we'll do is we'll pull that through, and there we go. So the average tannins for red grapes is 6.38. The average acidity for the popular red grapes is about 6.76. The average alcohol that creates those big thick legs is 7.62. The average body is about 7.6, and the average fruit flavor is about 7.24. And we have a sense. Now, of course, we could do another way of, so let's call it alternative average, which is a quicker way. We did the long form, and then we're doing the quick short form, which is equal to average. There is an Excel function called average, and it's saying average of what? It's going to do exactly the same thing that we did in long form. So we say this is the entire selection, and click enter. See, it comes out to be exactly the same. Let's pull it through, where the white cross turns into a black cross right at the edge, and we have exactly the same numbers. So that's a quick way to do sums, counts, sum divided by count is average, or else we could use the average function.